Welcome to the Frith Guild Podcast. In this episode, we're diving into the exhilarating chapters 6 to 10 of Warlord Arcanist by Shami Stovall. Join us as we explore the latest developments in Volke Savin's journey, filled with intense battles, powerful magic, and deep character growth. Chapter 6, A Clash of Titans. Volke adapts to his new fighting style, using lava to take down the formidable rock eldrin. He achieves victory with the help of traces in Terracana, though he senses a hint of disappointment in holding back. Chapter 7, Helpful Allies. After another intense encounter, Volke wakes up surrounded by his friends, including Rayson, Fane, and Moonbeam. With support from Xaxes and Addy, Volke receives crucial assistance in mastering fire evocation. Chapter 8, Alternate Evocation. Volke faces new challenges with evocation, particularly venom, while his friends engage in friendly rivalry. Amidst the humor and camaraderie, Volke continues to grow and adapt. Chapter 9, Destructive Evocation. As Volke struggles with imposter syndrome, he learns about the balance between destructive and creative magic. Meanwhile, Riker trains with Selfree, grappling with his own fears of transformation. Chapter 10, Nightmare Magic. Volke's fears of failing to save everyone are brought to light, as Eviana makes significant improvements under his guidance. Forsyth reveals his initial jealousy, and Xaxes demands respect during training, highlighting Volke's journey in mastering his magic and leadership. Grab your book, settle in, and join us as we unravel the mysteries and magic of Warlord Arcanist. Get ready for an epic discussion filled with adventure, powerful magic, and character development. Stay tuned, and let's dive into this captivating world together.
Welcome back to the Frith Guild Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host, Scott.
And today we'll be getting into chapters 6 through 10 of Warlord Arcanist. And again, just want to thank everybody for listening. Wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and again, happy holidays to those that are outside of those two denominations. We are getting close to Christmas, which means Labyrinth Arcanist is getting closer. I know, I'm definitely looking for some books under the tree. How about you, Scott?
I've got a few I'm looking for as well.
Heck yeah. Always love books for Christmas. And then coming up in later January, we have the Nexus finale releasing, and we have Words of Power, which is previously known as 6 Words. That'll be releasing later January, early February. And again, this book is through a publishing house, so this is slightly outside of Shami's control as far as exactly when it releases, but still excited nonetheless. And I do want to shamelessly plug my other podcast channel that my wife Kristen and I are doing, which is called Dragon's Book Lair, where we do reviews on books. We do reviews together, and then we also do reviews individually on books that we read, since we read so many books ourselves that we figured might as well just do reviews. So if you want to head on over there, the link will be down in the description below, along with the links for the Frith Chronicles wiki and with the Discord, the Capital Station Discord server. And with that, we're going to get into Chapter 6, A Clash of Titans. Volke has to learn how to adapt his fighting style because, again, he has a completely new eldrin. Doesn't know how to use his new powers yet, but he's figuring it out as he goes. And that's just kind of like the story of Volke. He realizes that he has obsidian growing out of magma, essentially, and he takes the idea of throwing hunks of lava at the rock eldrin. And until I was literally saying this out loud, it didn't occur to me, but it reminds me of monkeys throwing poop for some reason. Nah, I can't get that out of my head. Oh, Lord.
It's a funny image, just picturing him there like...
Especially because it's coming out of his, elbow. That, it's not coming out of, his hand where he can just drop it on his other hand and throw it. It's coming out of random joints. He does actually manage to take a rock down with this, and I'm fairly impressed with it because it burns so hot that it actually hurts the rock and causes it to stop flying and damn near crashes.
Question. Did Volke just kill a rock with a rock?
Oh, snap. I mean, technically it's a rock after it hardens, right?
Yeah. So, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I do love that little wordplay.
Shami, we need to know. Oh, Lord. So we do end up winning the fight. There's quite a lot of chaos going on. Eventide was able to protect the merchant ship while they were able to basically take down the other two airships, eliminate the eldrin, because we need to take care of that, make sure nobody else is going to get infected. While Traces is in her chimera form, she is able to latch onto the dreadform kraken from Galax and basically rip it apart. Just don't piss off Traces when she's in chimera form. She just straight ripped it apart. Now Volke and Terracana have to help Traces out, because if we remember the last time we saw Traces in chimera form, this was in Volke's dreams. Delgis was supplying the memory from Zelfrey that Callisto actually had to use his mana core venom to turn Traces back. Volke has to tell Terracana that we can't outright kill Traces because we don't want Traces. And I feel like Terracana is kind of like upset about this. Like, there's a lot of times where Volke is like, no, we can't kill them. They're our friends.
I just picture Venom. Can I eat these people?
or like Iron Flame. We don't eat our allies.
Yes.
Constantly have to be reminded of that. And we learned that Terracana apparently can turn his venom on and off. So, like, is there a switch? Like, I want to know how this works.
Boop the tail. He's a little bop it.
Tail up or tail down. Transition.
That brings us to Chapter 7, Helpful Allies. So while all this is coming back, the rock that Volke did not kill decided to come back. And Volke takes a giant talon through the gut. He's able to melt the talon so that it's no longer sticking through him. And luckily, as we kind of learned, the God Arcanists have a little bit extra healing power, but he's still going to need some help with this giant hole in his body. He goes through the same castle dream again, swim at the bottom of the ocean, the castle's there, and wakes up to all of the ladies. Eviana is there. Hexa comes in until Zaxxas ends up kicking her out. Raisin, of course, knocks everything over when he leaves with her. Karna's in there. Ilia's in there. Everyone is kind of getting pushed away. And we finally realize that Fane has kind of been standing guard, invisible the whole time, and is now just waiting there protecting him.
So, two things about this scene. One, is Volke naked under the sheets when all of the women are cooing over him? And two, I love how Raisin was trying his hardest to be quiet. And for some reason, a 400-pound dragon-bodied, alligator-headed Hydra can just not move quietly anymore.
It just very much reminds me of like that just big dog that you always see that like kind of is like trying to go nicely, but just like running into everything, just like no idea how big it is. Volke does end up talking to Zaxxas and Addie and asks for their help because they evoke fire and he evokes something fire-like. So he's really trying to figure out, one, how do you play with fire safely? And is there anything that they can kind of help that can guide him on how to master this a little quicker?
I can only imagine how Zaxxas is going to take this. Doesn't have a big enough ego.
The God Arcanist is coming to me for help.
And this is where Chapter 8 comes in, alternate evocation. Adele just assumes that Volke would evoke Venom since he's been visiting Terracana's dreams. And he's kind of disappointed that he was wrong with that assumption. Granted, we have zero information on what these God Eldrin are going to be able to do and what they'll be able to evoke, manipulate, and augment, but while Delgis is like commiserating the fact that he was wrong in his assumption, Hexa and Zaxxas are like going at each other about, oh, well, fire's better, venom's better, that kind of thing. Like, Zaxxas is better, Hex is better. And they're like, let's go outside, fight it out right now. And everybody's just like, but it's dark out. I'm like, so?
People fight in the dark.
Like, act like we won't. Eviana comes in and just straight kicks a lot of them out. She's pissed because Raisin had knocked over the table with the tea on it that Karna has made every 6 hours out of her own stock. Zaxxas is fighting her because who puts the teapot there? And it's an infirmary. It's not really anticipated to have high volume traffic here. As Raisin is basically about to leave, he gives Volke a hug with all 5 of his heads. And this is like the most like, aww, that we ever get with Raisin.
I know, I would love more Raisin.
Right. Just like more Cowbell. We need more Raisin.
We need more Raisin.
Nicklin is hiding under the sheets when Volke wakes up next. And we are in fact naked under the sheets. So, like the umpteenth time that he's woken up in the infirmary, been naked, with a bunch of women swooning over him. So this is just kind of the norm.
Standard teenage years, right?
Right. Like, I really wish that Volke would have known that when they were all in there talking to him, just to make it that much more awkward for him. So Nicklin is under the sheets, and he scares the shit out of Volke because Volke really doesn't know what's under there at first. And this brings us into chapter 9.
Destructive evocation. So we get a little bit of kind of an imposter syndrome going on, which completely understand. Volke's like, I don't really feel like I'm a god arcanist. Like, that feels like a kind of tier above where I'm at. But it's kind of the role that he's thrust upon, so he's got to take it on and he's got to wear the mantle. The guild is clearing out Gallus's room, which Volke feels like, man, that was quick. You guys don't waste any time there. And go outside, and we do see Riker training with Zelfrey. We get a little interaction from Moss, and we learn that Moss was actually born from the progenitor Behemoth, which was one of the god creatures, which is essentially why Moth is kind of that in between the 7-star of the normal arcanist. You have Moss with the 9-star, and then the god creatures. We also learned that each god arcanist has a destructive and a creative form of their magic that they can essentially work with until they master one of those, at which point they lose access to the other one. So the magma that Volke was evoking was the destructive side of his magic. We also get some interaction with Riker trying to learn his magic and essentially learn that he's kind of scared to transform or to really use the magic in any sort of way.
He specifically talks about transforming himself into another person and is worried about getting stuck in like some in-between phase of the transformation. And I don't blame the guy.
It's weird to think about.
Yeah. I think it would have been really cool to have Karna and Zelfrey both there trying to teach him kind of both sides of the coin. I bet they probably do alternating just so that way he can get actual experts of the Mimic and Doppelganger. But one thing Volke mentions about Zelfrey is that Zelfrey never actually talks about what his deepest fears are, and he suspects that he lost his lover, and then there's that other part that it's like, is it because he lost his best friend that turned pirate? Like, we know it's one of those two things. Zelfrey is not afraid of just about anything, minus using an aura. He's pretty
Rightfully
much
so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Understandable. So outside of not using his aura, is he scared because he lost one of his lovers, or because he lost his best friend that turned pirate. And with that comes into chapter 10, Nightmare Magic. So Volke explains that so he starts working with Eviana again since he had a true form nightmare, and he is basically trying to get an idea of where she's at. She's like, oh, well, now that you'll actually feel these, I'm going to evoke some terrors at you. And we get a glimpse into Volke's mind at what he's most afraid of, and it's basically not being able to save everyone. And that's a fairly noble thing to be afraid of. I mean, shoot. He also is afraid that he's the one that's causing all of the death of everybody because he's the Warlord Arcanist and all that. But tomato. He does make note that Eviana is making vast improvements to her power. And I gotta say, it must be really nice to have a former true form Nightmare Arcanist as a teacher. A mentor. It's like he knows what to do. Volke goes back and sleeps for a little bit while he's waiting for Zaxxas to be available. Forsyth does come and wake him up, essentially. And I bet Terracana's sitting there like, I could just... little snack.
Maybe a little bite?
Fish are a friend, not food. There's so many quotes for this. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Forsyth does have a little bit of a conversation with Volke and says that on the Day of the Phoenixes, he actually was anticipating to bond with Volke and not Zaxxas. Obviously, until Schoolmaster Timms was a douchebag and forced Volke to run out of there. And I mean, all for the better. Yes, Shami, you did a great job. I love you. But, oh man, you made me so angry. Anyways, digressing again. It's nice to see that Forsyth actually thought that, or had wanted to bond with Volke originally to get that kind of conversation. He does also say that he was a touch jealous of Luther, and that when Luther was bonded, that he was happy that he wouldn't be just exiled to the mire and to live out the rest of his days in loneliness. Now, Volke goes down and is about to start training with Zaxxas and Addy, since they are the fire evocation specialists. And the first thing Zaxxas says to Volke is that Volke is the apprentice, and that Volke is to call Zaxxas master while training.
Yeah, that's gonna go over well.
Like, first off, it's Volke, okay? It's not gonna happen right there. Secondly, he is a God Arcanist. I don't give a crap. Like, Volke is the most chill God Arcanist ever. Like, people are running to get out of his way. And he's like, look, we're still cool. Like, we no reason, nothing's changed. And they're like, but has it though? Just a little bit. I mean, the giant tattoo or the sign on his chest
It's
make a
temporary.
difference.
It washes off.
Another lesson that Volke learns with Zaxxas and Addy is that he needs to be very careful with fire, because if he gives it too much push, then it'll actually become bigger and uncontrollable, and we don't like to see that. So this is where chapter 10 ends off this week, and again with the bestiary section this week, we don't really have anything new or anybody that we're gonna get into this week. Promise later on we would definitely have some newer creatures, more things to talk about with some of these creatures, more information given, so get a little bit deeper dive into there. And again, I know we have Christmas coming up here in just a few short weeks, and Hanukkah is coming up as well. So again, we want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Scott, did you have anything else you'd like to add today?
No. Happy holidays, everyone.
All right. We'll catch you guys next week.